yourselves that the erstwhile colonial master is alive and well, subterranean and pernicious to the core. Don't delude yourselves. And remember that sometimes the disunity of Africa is big business. And if we forget that, we will once again be manipulated.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your always great support. I usually don't take it for granted. By supporting me in this video, ensure you like the video. I've realized that sometimes you bump into the video, you watch and you forget liking the video. I will appreciate you so much. That is why I'm reminding you, like the video. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, PLO Lumumba's shockwave is still telling us we have leaders who do not believe in their leadership, irrespective of their countries. We have several presidents across Africa, but remember one thing, we are still having puppet African leaders whom they cannot even do their own things, but they still remain beggars, traitors, and sell out. Remember one thing, this conversation of William Ruto being a traitor has already hit the Horn of Africa. And the conversation is continuing. The conversation is continuing to escalate as we are asking ourselves, why is it that when William Samoei Ruto is with African presidents, he is a strong Pan-Africanist? But when he's with these West countries or US, he's not a Pan-Africanist. He's wearing Kaunda suits while having meetings in Africa, but wearing suits to please his masters. So PLO Lumumba sends shockwave as he is exposing puppet African leaders.
Africa into a different orbit. And Nyerere of Tanzania once said, we must also define what development means. And he said, development does not mean necessarily the building of skyscrapers. There is nothing wrong with that. But let the Americans go to the moon. We are going to provide water to our villages. We must define what development means. And once we define what development means, and we define ourselves, then Africa shall realize our potential. In 1996, Thabo Mbeki talked about an African. Who is an African? Who are you? Define yourself first. The Chinese define themselves. The Indonesians define themselves. The Koreans define themselves. We must define ourselves and begin to believe in our institutions. You know, and I see it in this part of the world. When we want to look at our economy, we say, what does Moody's say? And Moody's is very moody when they come to Africa. Moody's. Can the Department of Economics at Unilag not do that? Can't they? McKinsey, an American outfit, they are the ones who come here and tell us how our economy is behaving. When the American dollar as much as sneezes, the Naira goes into a coma. Why? 63 years after independence in Nigeria, 66 in Ghana, 61 in Kenya and many other countries, we still believe that somebody else's currency is what must define us. 63 years after independence, we are still importing chicken as if our chicken forgot how to lay eggs. The time is now for Africa to ask fundamental questions. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you'll get the wrong answers. And I'm suggesting to us that Africa is already asking those questions. You know, in the year 2013, African heads of states and government sat in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That was during the chairmanship of South Africa's Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma. And they decided that we can no longer continue to live in this muck and mire. Africa must know progress. And they came up with Africa Agenda 2063. My sister spoke to it so very ably and eloquently and passionately. What we don't say is that during that week, Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma wrote an apology letter to Kwame Nkrumah, telling Kwame, we apologize. What we are doing now, you saw in 1963. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Now we are living through Africa Agenda 2063. We are living through the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm not a Jewish prophet nor related to one, but I can confirm to you we will not fulfill any one of them. You cannot, in the nature of things, engage the reverse gear and then think you'll reach your destination. You cannot. And that is what most African countries have done. So the time is now, as the cliche goes, when you are in a hole, you stop digging. And Africa must stop digging. And if we stop digging and we look at what we have, Africa Continental Free Trade Area says that we are going to trade amongst ourselves in the world. Africa trades ourselves at best at 20%. Europe at about 70%, North America possibly 65%, Asia now going to 60%, Latin America going to 55%, Africa 20%. What must we do? We must stop certain things that stand in our way, conflict.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there's something here very complex about the leadership in Africa. If you sense it very clearly, we have been having presidents across Africa. And remember one thing, these presidents, they usually meet. And what are these agreements they usually have? Because I don't understand sometimes African presidents, how they usually carry their meetings. Is it just for joyriding that they are African presidents, but they don't have a solution to what they usually say? Because I don't understand Africans. You know, sometimes I wonder, why is it that these African presidents usually have their meetings? Then after their meetings, they're still begging, bowing and worshipping these individuals. And that is why we are branding them as puppets. We are branding them like sellout and traitors. That is the only thing we can say. Because they cannot lie to us that the effort they are making is to ensure that Africans are not going to be slaves, but also they must be considered as human beings. They have their rights. But sometimes you will see, for example, like a president in Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, is a man that wants to be good before them. He wants to bow before them, wants to worship them, so that in the eyes of West countries and US, he can be seen someone who is so charismatic, you know, and he can endorse and be a good ambassador to these countries in Africa. On the other side, as William Ruto is also trying to do so, we are having also other individuals. You know, look at the president of Nigeria. The same thing that William Ruto is doing, the same thing they're doing. So I don't know when we'll be having African presidents will have their firm decisions that we are no longer going to be called in, or we are not going to be summoned in these meetings. For example, US Africa Summit, Russia Africa Summit, Turkey Africa Summit, Korea Africa Summit, Japan, China Africa Summit. That is it. They must also summon them. Let them come and meet African president in Africa. But it seems like we have presidents whom they don't know their values. And that is why they complain, like William Ruto, that they're being ferried like school kids during the burial of the Queen Elizabeth. At the same time, they're complaining they will not attend those meetings or summits. They will just send their representatives. But what are we seeing today? The same thing. So I think the message is very clear. We are not having presidents that will stand strong and say that this is our decisions and this is what you must do for just respect. But you people, you want to bow down, worship them. On this side, you're saying you're going to get rid of the dollar, but you're still bowing and worshiping the dollar. What do you think, Africans? Drop your opinion at the comment section below. Otherwise, thank you so much because of your great support. Please consider subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing this video.